You throw a party. Do you have fun? Or do you run around like a crazy person the entire time, making sure that every single solitary other person in your apartment or your home is having fun? And actually, in the end, you're exhausted. Is that you? Or when you have a social activity that you're doing with friends, are you worried about each and every one of them if they're having a good time? Do you feel responsible for other people's feelings? Are you overly concerned? My name is Terri Cole. I'm a licensed psychotherapist. I'm a relationship expert and the founder of the Real Love Revolution. And what I'm talking about today in this video is when you care more about how other people feel than you do yourself. Why that is, what happens, and how to stop it. So before we can stop it, and why prioritizing yourself actually matters, I'm going to give you a couple of things, just a little quick list, so that you can see if you're doing this. Because I want to first talk about the origin. So why do we do this? Why are you so concerned about other people's experience? Well, partly is that as women, we're taught to be nice girls and good girls, and we're kind of the bridgers in society, right? We're like the assuagers. We're the ones who's taking the temperature of every person in the room to make sure that everyone has what they need or that everyone is okay. Part of this is also about being mothers, that we're being groomed sort of all of our lives to become mothers, where you're always dialed into other people's feelings and you have many people that you're taking care of. But why I care about this and why I'm doing a video for you about this today is that if you do this too much, you lose yourself. If you are so obsessed and obsessively worried about how other people feel and if they're getting their needs met, you're not developing who you are in life. And in the end, all of this overfunctioning, as I call it, and really it's a lot of codependency, can only lead to one place. As I like to say, it can only lead to bitter land, because eventually you become angry because there's nothing left for you. And then you draw all of these people into your life who expect you to care about the way they feel more than you do about the way you feel. So I'm going to give you a little list right now. Let's just start talking about, so I want you to see if you can see yourself in the things. So I've already said you're throwing a party. That's one. You're sort of doing like a social thing and you still feel responsible for everyone. Do you spend way too many hours at your job? Do you do way more than is actually your job description because you just don't know how to say no, right? What if, let's see, when people say, where do you want to go eat? You say, oh, I don't care. Whatever you want to do is great. Is that your normal behavior? Right? That you don't even... And I don't know that it's that you don't know what you want. It's that you're so used to having everything be no problem. This is part of either the role you played in your family system. So let's talk a little bit about how that could be impacting. So in family systems, a chaotic family system or a family system where there might have been abuse or drugs or alcohol, there's all of these roles. Originally, this was really just used for like adult children of alcoholic families, let's say. But I find in my therapy practice that it's actually pretty relevant to any dysfunctional family, which is pretty much everybody's family, right? Who didn't have a dysfunctional family? So there's different roles. And one of those roles is the hero child. So that's the one who's fixing and overfunctioning their ass off for other people. And then another one of the roles is like the hidden one, the silent one, the one that's always going under the radar, the one that never ever wants to make waves. And so either one of those roles, if that's your role in the family system, could create this, where you're constantly, where you care more about how other people feel, even strangers. So another thing on my little list here is, do you not send food back even if they got it wrong because you feel bad for the waitress or because you just can't deal with it, right? Do you dread birthdays? And I'm not even talking about your own birthday, because you're so obsessed with getting everyone that you're close to, like the perfect, the right one, the right gift. And it's exhausting. You know? Are you always exhausted? This is another thing that you can check on the list. Are you always exhausted because you're overcommitted socially because you can't say no? How about shopping for the holidays? If you celebrate Hanukkah or Christmas, is that just a nightmare because it's totally stressful that you have to get all the right things for every person? Let's see. Are you always the person that people come to about their problems, but you're never the one really talking about your problems? You're really, really good at saying, so tell me about you. What's going on with you? Oh yeah, what happened with that thing with the lady you were working with? Like remembering everyone else's life, but really never being able to bring that attention back to yourself. Let's just say you always do more work than is necessary. So let's say you get invited to a potluck dinner. It's not enough for you to just bring a side dish as they asked you. You're going to bring an appetizer, a dessert, and an entree, probably. So again, overworking, overworking, overworking. And the last one, which is kind of funny, but it's not. If you are on an airplane and you are inside by the window and you really have to pee, you will probably hold that pee the entire plane ride, because you don't want to inconvenience the person sitting next to you, or especially if that person has fallen asleep. The only way you're getting up is if you're in the aisle seat. So to any of these this checklist, does this ring true? Are you able to see yourself in this process? And if the answer is yes, in the next part of this Real Love Revolution video, I'm going to give you a couple of ideas of ways that you can start prioritizing your own feelings. And the reason why I want you to do this is because it is unhealthy for you to only prioritize other people's feelings. It isn't real, meaning that you're not letting anyone really get to know you if you don't talk about what's going on inside of you. If there's a big disconnect between your internal experience, your internal life, and what's happening in your external life. So the more you don't talk about your feelings, your preferences, your priorities, what you would like, the less and less and less the people in your life actually know you. And so how can anyone authentically love you if you don't allow them to authentically know you? The thing about pleasing others all the time is that it's sort of a perfect way of ignoring yourself and avoiding yourself. So let's move on to, I'm going to give you 4 ideas in different areas of your life of things that you can do to bring more authenticity into these situations. So let's start with your work situation. If you're always saying yes to extra work, and if people are always asking you favors at work and they know that you're the person to come to, this is probably getting in the way of you being as productive as you could be, not to mention making you resentful. So I want you to create some kind of a rules of engagement sort of for work, like your own way of agreeing to like how you're going to be at work, and let other people know about it, so that you know that you can't make everyone happy. And the problem with trying to is you're going to fail. Like that's it. So if you can put yourself first by actually putting a structure into place for work, right? Set your own expectation so that you can be relieved of guilt, knowing that you don't need to do personal favors for people at work, and you should have a policy against it, because it is not good for business and it's not good for what you're actually creating. So if you can for yourself just put down like rules of engagement, and then when people ask you, you can say, no, actually I have a policy about favors at work. Like, you just have to not do it. The real thing is that when you meld those boundaries, right, when you act like your coworkers are your friends, it really is an unhealthy situation. You can have a friendly and a collegiate, they call it relationship, right? Congenial relationship where there's mutual respect, and a work favor is different than a personal favor. But I feel like you need to get that sort of the rules of engagement in order so that you're not setting yourself up to be resentful and to fail business-wise. Okay, so the second thing is, let's think about in your relationship. So when you're overgiving in your relationship, when you're overdoing in your relationship, again, this person doesn't know who you are. When you're always like, well, whatever you want to do, honey, it's all about you. So you really have to put yourself first in your relationship in some way by keeping your own individuality alive. So how do you do that? You need to decide what it is that you like to do. You have to negotiate for those needs. And I think that your partner will probably, in the beginning, they may be surprised because you're changing sort of the rules of engagement in the relationship. But I also think that someone who really loves you actually wants to get to know you. They don't necessarily just want a mirror of themselves. So I feel like when you neglect your inside, what you're actually passionate about, whether it's hobbies, whether it's interests, if you don't ever share them with your significant other, it really can negatively impact. So the one thing you're going to do is you're going to start to introduce and asserting yourself a little bit more around the things that you do in the relationship. Make some plans. If your partner says, what do you feel like having for dinner? Actually tell them what it is that you feel like having for dinner, because this will be something new, and it's also a way of you being really more authentic. Okay, so in the next place, what are you going to do in your friendships? How can you change? Because we're always evolving and changing in life. I mean, hopefully, right? We hope that this is a lifelong thing, right? So you can actually put yourself first in your friendships by being like, making close friendships with people who have things in common with you, right? People who are similar. They don't have to be exactly the same way. But instead of sacrificing what you're interested in, being friends with people that you really have nothing in common with simply because they want to be friends with you. Because this is another thing that happens when you are always worried about the way other people feel above the way you feel. You probably have friends who think that they are your best friend. And for you, that is not true at all. And so the way that you can change this is start to really put yourself in situations to meet people who are slightly more similar to you. So if you like to cycle, join a cycling club or a biking club, so that really you're already being more of yourself in the relationship. Because again, always acquiescing to what someone else wants to do it doesn't feel good. When you really think about it, it actually feels bad, and you will end up being resentful. A suggestion that I have for you is doing a date night with yourself weekly. It doesn't have to be at night, and it can actually be as little as 2 hours a week, where I want you to really plan something to do alone, simply because you would like to do it. And this is a way that you can start developing your own desires and likes more. Because if you spend your entire life or decades saying, oh, whatever you want, before you know it, you won't even know who you are or what you like anymore. But I promise you, what you will know for sure is that you do not feel satisfied, joyful, or lit up about your life. So once a week, I want you to commit 2 to 4 hours of doing a date night with yourself. It could be a creative date. You could take yourself to a museum. It could be to see a movie. It could be to walk around different parts of the city that you live in or the town that you're in. Or if you live in a rural area, it could be like a drive you've never taken before. Something that really honors exactly how you feel and what you want to be doing for that period of time. So if you liked this video, please share it on social media. If you know people who you think do exactly what we're talking about, too much people pleasing, please share it. And for those of you, if you have not joined my free tribe, ladies only, please go to terricole.com/RLR and do that. because I got free gifts for you and a free Facebook group, and I would love to see you there. I hope that you guys have an amazing week, taking great care of you. Because you know, that's the only thing I ever want you to do, is take care of you.